Jesse, great to have you on your morning. Really good to have you here. And this is our chance for Canada to get to know you. We're going to be running this 500 days until the start of FIFA. How are you feeling?
Yeah, excited. It's a good moment in time to be thinking about, what it will be like in the summer of 2026. So we're excited. We're excited.
Listen, soccer fans will know you as a professional player. You played at the university level, but I'm interested, first of all, because we're talking a lot about growing the legacy of the sport here in Canada. What were you like as young Jesse, as a soccer player? When did you know you loved it and you were good at it?
I played a lot of sports. So I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin, in the U.S., and we played a lot of sports. And I kind of had a group of friends. We played ice hockey, we played basketball, we played soccer. And that was kind of the sport that I was best at and I enjoyed the most. And so I just kind of kept pursuing it. I was pretty competitive.
Why are you laughing? What demonstrated that?
I mean, even when I was a professional player, I was known as being very combative, and I like to win, and so that was always really important to me. But as a coach, you kind of have to evolve a little bit, and you have to be more about relationships and development, and so I think it's been good for me, But the sport has been, in general, it's allowed me to express passion in really clear ways. And from myself and my family, we've been on a journey that's been incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. Your wife and 3 kids. Any of your kids play soccer?
Yeah, they all played in some way, shape, or form. I mean, my youngest is now 17, and maybe he'll go to university and play.
What kind of soccer dad are you then?
I'm pretty relaxed.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not too judgmental. I try to be supportive. I learned young, my first child's a daughter, and I was kind of forced into coaching her when she was 8, and that didn't go very well.
Oh, really? Yeah. A little too intense for the 8-year-olds, were you?
Well, she just didn't want to. I don't think she listened to Dad ever, and certainly not when I was her coach. So, but now she's grown into a great young woman.
You have coached all over. What do you find about Canada soccer players that are uniquely Canadian?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that I've coached 6 players from 62 different countries.
Amazing.
Right? So you learn kind of culturally how people deal with difficulty, how they react to certain things, positivity, negativity, how everybody sort of culturally handles things. And I think that's been useful here because this team, I've often heard since I've been here that U.S. is a melting pot and Canada is a mosaic.
That's right.
And I think people say that because cultural heritage is stronger here. Mm-hmm. And
we hyphenate here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're a Ukrainian Canadian, or you are an Ethiopian Canadian. They don't do that in the U.S.
But also, you learn Ukrainian in the home, you cook Ukrainian food, you know what I mean? The heritage and cultural aspects of your family really stick with you. Yeah. And I think that there's pride in that. And I think that it's one of the things that these guys, the players in the team, really care about is that their differences, that they kind of all acknowledge the fact that they have similar background stories, that their families are from Ireland or from Africa or from Portugal or South America or whatever, and that they've all come here, but they have such a strong pride that they're still very Canadian, right? And so that's been fun to be a part of, and it's been fun to see how it's made them stronger.
Well, I'm glad that you brought this point up. I'm excited for the country to get to know the rest of the team. We'll talk about them in a moment. But talk to me about that idea of these young men who have grown up in families who have cheered for teams that were not Canada, and now they're playing for Canada. What does that mean to them?
Well, I still think, as most of them were born here, that they grew up playing the sport, and a lot of them are first generation, right? But they grew up playing the sport and still looking up to the national team. And of course, maybe they watched the French team or the Portuguese team like we talked before, but they still had the dream of playing for Canada, right? And so putting that jersey on for them still is an incredible sense of pride, something really special, and something that they all know they want to represent in all the right ways. So that combination of having a little bit of football culture and background maybe from other countries, but then bringing it here and making sure that they represent it in the way that they're very Canadian, I think makes the team so unique. right? And again, it's a powerful group. It's a group that loves playing together, really special personalities, really selfless, like really a special team.
It makes them unique. Does it make them competitive?
Well, one of the things I've said, I'm American, right?
Yeah.
And I joke a lot that our number one export is arrogance.
Don't tariff that, by the way.
That's a good point. And Canadian qualities, I think, are about kindness and generosity and selflessness, and it makes for an incredible team. But I've really tried to challenge them also that arrogance can be a good thing, right? And that self-belief is important, and that they deserve to be a good team, and that they are good enough to achieve great things. And already in our time together, we've achieved some great goals. And so I think it's created a foundation for them to continue to grow and get better. And our total focus since I've been here is about the summer of 2026 and now 500 days, right? So everybody has a real sense of urgency, a commitment to make sure that we take advantage of every moment.
Okay, let's introduce Canada to this team. We'll start with Alphonso Davies because it's a name, a face, and a story that so many people are familiar with. What does he bring to this team?
Well, he's an incredible talent. He's a big personality. He's really well liked in the team, and now he's becoming a real leader. So,
what does that look like?
Well, I made him captain at 23 years old. And there's not a lot of countries in the world that have a 23-year-old captain, but Alfonso's the type of person when he walks into a room that he carries energy with him, right? And the players look up to him, not just because he's talented, but because they know how good he is and they know how important he is, and they believe in him as a person. So he's continuing to grow into the captain that we need, but I've been incredibly pleased and impressed with him, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him more and more.
Okay, let's talk to Canada about the other players they should be watching for and that they're going to grow to love.
Yeah.
All the way to the summer of 2026.
Look, Jonathan David is right now one of the best strikers in Europe and one of the best strikers in the world. Last week, he just scored in Champions League at Liverpool, and he's maybe the most intelligent player that I've ever coached. Alston Johnston's becoming a captain type at Celtic Club in Scotland, and to say that a Canadian player at a big club like that is one of the leaders within the team is a big statement. Moise Bombito is at Nice in France. He's an incredible young talent. He's the fastest player in Europe that's been recorded this year, so an incredible talent. Jacob Schaffelberg is from Halifax, Nova Scotia, playing in MLS, one of the fastest players on the team and electrifying on the pitch. I mean, I could go on, but there's some big personalities and big talent in the team.
One thing that I found really interesting, I think our viewers will find interesting as well, unlike when, let's say, we're putting together the men's Olympic hockey team.
Yeah.
When you play center professionally, that's what you're going to play on the Olympic team. It is different for Team Canada. These guys are playing different positions than what they're going to play for our FIFA team. Talk to me about the challenges around coaching in that methodology.
Yeah, I mean, there's positional challenges in terms of the transition of what it's like to play at their clubs and their national team. And then there's kind of style of play. Like, I'm teaching the team to play very aggressive. Like, we're an incredibly athletic team, like the fastest team I've ever coached. Like,
really?
The team speed is insane. And so, sometimes people, I think, try to build a team to be very elegant and good at passing. And look, this team is good at those things, but they're great with their speed and their power and their athleticism. And I want to make sure that we always play that way. And I've challenged them, even in their professional lives, to introduce that more into what they do. And they've taken it on as a big responsibility.
Listen, I checked in with some hardcore, diehard soccer fans. I have some questions from them for you. So get ready.
Good, I love it.
How do you get this team ready when we don't have any real high-level competition before we hit FIFA?
Well, we won't have to qualify, right? Like, typically you have to qualify, and those are very difficult matches because the passion for everyone to get to the World Cup is massive. But what we will have instead of that is we'll be able to schedule more high-level opponents. So before, when we were playing maybe Guatemala and Honduras and Caribbean nations, now we can substitute that with playing European nations and higher level teams. And that will, even though they're friendlies, the level of play on the pitch will be at a higher level. And so I still think that the team understands that the urgency and the importance of everything we do when we're together every time is really important.
FIFA has ranked the U.S. higher than Canada, even though we've had more international success lately. How do you explain that?
Well, it's a ranking system that kind of collects your last 5 years and all the results that you've had. So, look, we're at our highest FIFA ranking we've ever had. We beat the U.S. on U.S. soil in September for the first time in 67 years.
Look at the twinkle in your eye when you say that. You're very proud of that.
I was very happy. But the team has accomplished a lot in a short amount of time that I've been with them. And by the way, they won the CONCACAF region to get to the last World Cup. Yeah. So this group has already had a lot of experience together.
So there's momentum there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about scoring. How do you coach finishing?
Yeah.
And is that a skill that only some players have?
It's a lot about confidence and it's a lot about technique. You try to give ideas of how you want to be around the goal and the kinds of actions you want, but you also want to give the players freedom to show their talents. And we have a lot of really good attacking players. So, we coach them, but we also want them to play free.
Okay. I think a lot of people, if they aren't soccer fans, they had a glimpse into the world of soccer and of coaching and teams when they watched a show like Ted Lasso. And in Ted Lasso, everybody knows that the core value there is to believe.
Yeah.
So what is your core value for this team?
Well, I'm called Ted Lasso in England.
Are you really?
Yes, this is what they call me. Because
I
coached there, I was an American, and it was actually kind of nauseating.
I'm not trying to draw the comparison. I just want to know what your core value is.
It's okay. I don't have a mustache, but I'm a very positive person, right? I'm about relentlessness, fearlessness, and aggressiveness. Those are my main things.
Relentlessness, fearlessness, aggressiveness.
Yes. And so I always want to have a team that goes after the game, that is ready to throw punches, that goes for it, that doesn't look back. And fortunately, we have those types of personalities in this team.
Okay, well, this is what I wanted to ask you. How do you teach a group of Canadian men who were raised in this country to do that, to be that, throw some punches?
Well, they are built with that, a lot of them, and it's just making sure that collectively they know what that means and that they're ready for it. And so in the time we've been together, I've challenged them to grow up, to be ready for this, to know that the work for the dream that they have, because this is their team. I've been calling this the people's team. And the reason I call it the people's team is partly because I think they're a really good reflection of the multiculturalism in this country, but also the character. Okay. Like, they have such great character, and it's a team and it's a group of players that this country should be very proud of. But in the end, my job is to try to prepare them so that when 2026 comes, they're ready to seize the moment, and that the country we electrify the country, and that the country has so much passion for what happens.
You have mentioned that this team has a lot of speed. You've mentioned that they have a lot of character. They have a lot of passion. But what is the thing in this team that could see them find success?
In the end, with all the intangibles that we talk about, with speed and power and commitment, and it's still their talent. Like, this is a talented group. This is a different Canadian team than all Canadian teams of the past.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. This team is more prepared, has more experience, are playing at higher levels, playing at bigger clubs, and are just built with more talent and more speed and more athleticism. And it's a pleasure to coach them.
Whenever we see big events like this happen, there's always an uptick and there's a legacy effect. So what do you think the legacy effect of Canada co-hosting a FIFA
I'll tell you my story.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1994, the U.S. hosted the World Cup. I was in college at that time, and I was playing college soccer, but I was prepared to get a job when I was done. And then MLS started, Major League Soccer, started an American League, and I was the first rookie class in that league. So the timing was when I graduated from college that I went right into being a pro. And I wasn't even sure how long the league would be around and what it would be like. I played 14 years as a professional. Wow. Then after that, I went into coaching. I coached in the league. I coached in Europe. I coached in Champions League. I coached in the Premier League. And now I'm here coaching a national team. I've been an assistant in the World Cup. I wouldn't exist without 1994. And I think that 2026 is now the chance for Canada to build these opportunities for the future, young talents and young coaches, so that there's a big future for the sport and big opportunities for the talented people that play this sport. And so we're motivated to do that. We know the best way to do it is to perform and make sure that the country is so passionate about the team that it wills us to success. But I think that there's so much more that can be gained, and we're all focused on building the sport as well.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Matt Sundin. So he was a longtime captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep.
He also has kids, and he's a dad. And I asked him which was more challenging, being a captain or a dad of three. So I'm going to ask you the same. Which is the more challenging team to coach, just being a dad of three or this national team?
Yeah, the dad of three.
Who listens better?
But I'll tell you what, being a parent prepares you to be a coach. I really believe that. One of the things I learned early on in parenting is just because I felt like I said the right thing didn't really mean much. So I had to learn to now be patient, to understand how to reach people, to be a good communicator, and to also accept mistakes and failure as opportunities to improve and get better. And so in all those ways, parenting is such a bigger investment. And these guys are pretty easy to coach because they're such great men. But that part, I think, has made me a better coach.
Great to get to know you, Jesse. Look forward to chatting with you more.
Okay, cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.